Thank you very much. The legislation before us, or the continuing resolution, is, I believe, a full-throttle extremist assault on the environment, the public health of the American people, and the jobs and economic well-being of our nation as a whole. In these difficult times that we are in, it is the economy and jobs that should be the top priority for this Congress and for the Republican majority. This CR does irreparable harm to the environment, including air, water, our lands, our public lands, and wildlife. The virtual elimination of public health protection by the reckless dismantling of the jurisdiction of the EPA and the funding of the EPA will bring health crises to the American people and endanger families and children. And today the President is announcing his Great Outdoors Initiative, and at a time when he is asking for private, state, local, and federal cooperation in the protection of public places, in the enhancement of recreation and outdoor activities for the American people, this CR talks about the elimination of state and tribal wildlife grants, which are essential in that coordination. It talks about reducing by 90% the Land Water Conservation Fund, which is essential to promoting that cooperation and promoting the joint planning and joint jurisdiction of many of our special places in this country. And the upcoming punitive elimination attempt to eliminate the National Landscape Conservation System will leave 800 units, public units, abandoned, without coordination, and without the ability to plan for the future and to be coordinated in such a fashion that they save money and serve the American people the best. This CR places our special public places and lands on the endangered list, with irrational cuts and ending the shared responsibility to protect and conserve. Big oil and gas and mining do not own these public places and lands. The American people do, and to turn to extraction as the only goal for these public lands denies history, ignores science, and welcomes the exploitation of a shared resource by the American people. And if deficit reduction is the item on the agenda, and we all agree that we must confront that and be prudent, be pragmatic, and be realistic in cutting programs, then we also should put everything on the table. Because if it is indeed an issue of deficit reduction, then let's talk about some items that the majority did not put in their CR. Some of the subsidies, some of the giveaways to industry that are part of the public land agenda and part of what happens within the Interior Department. Expensing reforestation expenditures, $600 million under public land. Excessive percentage over cost depletion for non-fuel minerals, $500 million. Expensing exploration for non-fuel minerals, $400 million. Intangible drilling costs, $8.9 billion. Oil and gas royalty relief, $6.9 billion. Domestic manufacturing and tax deduction for oil and gas companies, $6.2 billion. And if you keep going down that list with coal subsidies, nuclear industry subsidies, oil and gas subsidies, public land subsidies, you end up with a figure of $100 to $200 billion. I'm not saying that all those cuts should be eliminated. I don't think we should take an axe to those areas. Some are productive and needed. But if we are going to scrutinize this budget, let's do it in a fair way that shares and balances what we're going through while we protect important things in our public lands and in our public health. I urge all my colleagues to balance public health of families and children, the public lands we love, the shared responsibility we have to clean air, water, public health, and our national resources. Balance that with the narrow agenda that is confronting us today, an agenda that punishes taxpayers and the American people at the expense and for the profit of private oil and gas interests in this country. As we confront this issue, I would suggest to my colleagues that the legacy of our public lands and our environment, the legacy of our clean air and water, the public health of our people should be the priority. And if cuts need to be made, then all cuts should be placed on the table. All cuts should be looked at, including subsidies and including giveaways and deductions that are now part of the norm with our public dollars. That would be good for the taxpayer, it would be good for the environment, and it would be good in reducing the deficit. And I yield back.